Today I'm going to be talking about the cognitive distortion of labeling and how labeling ourselves and others can make depression and anxiety worse. Hi everybody! In today's video we're going to continue our series on cognitive distortions and biased ways of thinking that can contribute to feelings of depression and anxiety. And today's video is going to be focusing on the concept of labeling. But before I get into that, just a couple of disclaimers to go over. I'm a registered psychologist in the province of British Columbia, Canada, and this video is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute or replacement for advice from your doctor or mental health professional. Now, with those things out of the way, let's start talking about labeling. Now, labeling is a cognitive distortion that at its core makes a temporary event a permanent trait or characteristic of a person. So what happens is that rather than thinking about the behavior of another person, labeling is used to provide a global description of the whole person. So rather than just a singular event sort of being how I define a person, I use that event to define the entirety of that person. So, for example, if I fail a test, I'm a failure. I did not do the dishes, I didn't complete all the dishes, so I'm a slob. I made an error at work, so I'm an idiot. Now, the thing is, we can also apply labels to other people. Labeling isn't just about ourselves, it's labels that we apply to others as well. So the coworker who spoke to me curtly, that person's a jerk. My girlfriend who forgot our anniversary, she's self-centered. So what ends up happening when we engage labeling is that we attach the label to the person or ourselves, and then we tend to filter out any information that doesn't fit in with that label. And we tend to focus on any information that does apply to that label. So negative events and behaviors are given more importance or more relevance than positive ones. So when I fail at something at work, that failure is noted and converted into the trait of me being an idiot. So I remember all the times that I failed, and those are all examples of why I'm an idiot. But my repeated successes at work, at the same time, they're largely ignored. Now, what's interesting with labeling is that rarely do people label themselves when things go well. So I did well at that project at work, so I'm a winner. People don't typically do that. They don't tend to think of themselves that way. So we typically don't apply labels to ourselves that are really positive based on singular events. Now, labeling can cause inaccurate thinking, but it can also maintain and fuel painful emotions like depression or sadness. So if I fail a test and take that to mean that I'm an idiot and a total failure, how do you think that's going to make me feel? Well, I'm probably going to feel pretty sad. I'm probably going to have a sense of despair and a sense of hopelessness. And if I start to believe the label, then what tends to happen is that I start to feel that there's nothing I can do to really change it. So at its core, what labeling does is it takes a solvable problem and makes it something that can't be solved. So imagine a scenario where I just started at a new job and I discover that I've misfiled something and made a simple mistake. Well, what should I do about that? What could I do about that? Well, in a situation like that, the solution seems relatively simple. Go to whatever it was that I misfiled it and refile it in the proper way. If I just focus on what I did, if I just focus on my behavior, it gives me an opportunity to think about ways of correcting that behavior. However, imagine that I misfiled something at work and then I think to myself that I'm a complete idiot, I'm a complete moron. What should I do about being an idiot and a moron? Do you see the problem? How do I change the fact that I'm an idiot and a moron? See, by engaging in labeling, what's happening in this scenario and in others is that I turn a minor problem, like misfiling something at work, and now I've made it something that is concrete and unchangeable. I'm an idiot and I'm a moron. The same applies for when we label other people. If someone's behavior rubs us the wrong way and I attach a label to the person that person's a jerk, what that means is that they'll always be a jerk and that there's nothing they can do to not be a jerk. So it's this type of labeling, it can cause a lot of difficulties and problems in interpersonal relationships where people will hold grudges against others because of singular events that have occurred, because after those singular events, they attach a label to that other person that kind of fuels that grudge or that bad blood that they have. So if you notice yourself engaging in labeling, what can you do about it? How can you sort of correct or modify this way of thinking? Well, the first step is to recognize it and to label that you're engaging in labeling, right? So to be aware and to recognize earlier on in the process that I'm actually behaving in this way, I'm actually thinking in this way, that I'm labeling something. See, the thing is, cognitive distortions, they work really well when we're not aware that we're doing them, but when we are aware of them, it really can help short circuit that cycle. So when you notice that you're engaging in labeling, the idea is to put aside the label and focus on the behavior that you notice. So things like, I failed one test. The person was late to work. My wife left the bathroom light on. By focusing on these events, by focusing on the behavior and not the person, what you might find is that you have less intense negative emotions toward yourself or the other person. Additionally, problems that may have felt like they were unsolvable, or people in your life who seemed like they were extremely difficult or impossible to deal with, all of these things suddenly become more manageable when you just focus on the behavior as opposed to a label that becomes an unchangeable characteristic of yourself or the other person. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a better sense of what labeling is, how it works, and how it can contribute to depression and anxiety. I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas about this, so please leave me some comments in the comments section down below. If you've been enjoying my videos and would like to see more, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and you'll be alerted every week when I post a new video. So that's all for today's video. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.